Hi and welcome to Now German, Lektion 49, Lesson 49. Hey Sie,
Hello, Gregor. Hey, everyone.
Sie, sehen wir heute einen Film?
Ja, sehr gut.
Which movie should we watch?
Mm,
How about Forrest Gump?
okay.
Well, unfortunately, we are both busy and we are not together, but that's my favorite movie, so we should watch that again someday. But, anyways, this time we look at a different one in our dialogue, but instead of just telling you about that, let's go read it.
Sehen wir heute einen Film?
Okay, aber essen wir zuerst etwas.
Okay. Essen wir dann Nudeln?
Du isst Nudeln, ich esse eine Pizza.
Okay. Und welchen Movie sehen wir?
Welchen Film sehen wir?
Welchen Film sehen wir?
Sehen wir Star Wars Film 1?
Ah, du siehst der Film, ich schlafe.
Den Film.
Den Film.
Okay, ich sehe den Film, du schläfst. All right, let's look at the vocabulary. We have first sehen,
Sehen.
to see, to watch, and heute,
Heute.
that is today, and der Film.
Der Film.
Yes, that is film, or indeed in English you could also say movie, but in German we don't really have another option. We just always call it der Film. And then we have aber,
Aber.
that is but, and we have essen,
Essen.
to eat, and we have zuerst,
Zuerst.
that is first. If you want to do something before something else, we can say zuerst, like for example, zuerst arbeite ich, dann spiele ich. First I work, then I play, something like that. And then we have etwas,
Etwas.
that is something. And we have dann,
Dann.
that is then. And then we have one thing that you are probably fond of, which is die Nudeln.
Die Nudeln.
Yes, that's noodles, and it's just a generic word for all kind of pasta. It can be spaghetti, can be linguine, can be all kind of pasta. We call them overall Nudeln. And then we have die Pizza.
Die Pizza.
Yes, which is Italian, and maybe it's coincidence, but looks like these both Italian dishes are feminine. And then we have some more words, welchen,
Welchen.
which is which. For example, which movie do you want to watch? Welchen Film? And lastly, we have schlafen,
Schlafen.
to sleep. And you saw some of the verbs in this dialogue conjugated irregularly. I didn't list them in this vocab section, but we will look at it in a second in the grammar section because irregular verbs are today's topic. Any questions other than that?
Oh, good.
Great, then let's go through our dialogue one more time.
Sehen wir heute einen Film?
Okay, aber essen wir zuerst etwas.
Okay. Essen wir dann Nudeln?
Du isst Nudeln, ich esse eine Pizza.
Okay. Und welchen Film sehen wir?
Sehen wir Star Wars Film 1?
Du siehst den Film, ich schlafe.
Okay, ich sehe den Film, du schläfst. All right, so let's look at irregular verb conjugations now. We have in total 6 verbs we look at, and we saw all of them in dialogues either in this lesson or before. And the first one is anfangen. Do you want to try conjugate anfangen?
What's the name of anfangen again?
Anfangen, you mean in English, it means to begin.
To begin. Okay.
Yes.
Anfangen. Ich fange an. Du fängst an. Er fängt an. Wir fangen an. Er fängt an. Sie fangen an.
Yes, exactly. Only thing in the ich, you said ich fangen an. Be careful you don't add an N there by accident. It's just ich fange an. And as you did correctly, and is of course written here, this is a separable verb. So an goes to the end. And what you saw here is that the singular is irregular. That is the do and er changes. And so just to check again, what's the difference between regular and irregular verbs?
Regular verbs will maintain the same form for the before the last two words.
What's that thing called? It's called the verb stem.
Verb stem.
Yes, the verb stem, exactly.
When making the change of ich to er, just changing following that.
Exactly. And so that's exactly what you see marked in red here. We have changes already before the ending. It changes the stem. All right. And another very common verb that is also irregular is essen, which means, you know what that means?
Eat.
Exactly. How about you conjugate that for us?
Essen. Ich esse. Du isst. Er isst. Wir essen. Er isst. Sie essen.
Exactly, that's right. And you see in the do form, usually for do, we add st at the end, right? You saw that with anfangen, du fängst an. But here for essen, we only add letter t. Why is that? Do you know?
No.
It's the same that we saw in the last lesson for regular verbs. If a verb stem ends with the letter S, we don't need to add an additional S. Otherwise, it would be like du isst. And already it is a long S. We can't even make three. Like in German, almost never we have three S after each other. It's not something we do. So after there is an S already, we don't need to add an additional one. That is true both for regular and also for irregular verbs. All right. Other than that makes sense, right?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. Irregular verbs don't make sense. You need to memorize them, but you can memorize it and then German speakers will understand you. That's the point. All right. And that was essen. And next we have to see. Do you know what is to see in German?
Sehen.
Exactly. Sehen. Do you want to conjugate that?
Ich sehe. Du siehst. Er sieht. Wir sehen. Er sieht. Sie sehen.
Exactly. And you see, very often is the case that some letter gets an umlaut, which you see with fange, anfangen, a becomes a. But of course, the letter e doesn't have any version with umlaut, so it needs to change to something else, and then it changes to e. It's the same you saw with essen becomes ist, and sehen becomes sieht. There is not really much logic, but you just need to remember. The only thing that helps is that more often the singular forms change. And then we have 2 or 3 other verbs to still look at. And the next one is schlafen.
Schlafen. Ich schlafe. Du schlafst. Er schlaft. Wir schlafen. Er schlaft. Sie schlafen.
That's right. Do you know what that means?
Sleep.
That's right. Always a great activity. And then 2 classic verbs, haben and sein, which are to have and to be, maybe the most important words. Let's start with haben, how to conjugate that.
Ich habe. Du hast. Er hat. Wir haben. Er hat. Sie haben.
Yes, and you see in a do and er form, they just drop some letters. That's not that common, but these very frequent words, you use them so often that these should not be the hardest thing. And then we have sein, which is just completely irregular. How about you conjugate that one?
Ich bin. Du bist. Er ist. Wir sind. Er sieht. Sie sind.
Exactly. So these were irregular verbs. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Do you ever struggle with any of them in particular, or are they all equally troublesome?
Uh, I think overall equally troublesome, but because sein and haben are used more often, so I guess these two are quite hard to digest in terms of the usage frequency.
Yes, and I want to encourage you to learn this properly and thoroughly right now because as you continue A1, A2, and so on, you will learn many more times like past forms, future forms, and they also conjugate irregularly sometimes. And you don't want to go back and then catch up with the basics. You want to make sure you learn that properly now, and then you're ready to learn in a proper way after that. All right, but I think enough talk about verb conjugation. Let's look at our dialogue one more time.
Sehen wir heute einen Film?
Okay, aber essen wir zuerst etwas.
Okay, essen wir dann Nudeln?
Du isst Nudeln, ich esse eine Pizza.
Okay, und welchen Film sehen wir?
Sehen wir Star Wars Film 1?
Mm, du siehst den Film, ich schlafe.
Okay, ich sehe den Film, du schläfst. All right, and so if I ask you, und welchen Film sehen wir? What would you suggest right now?
Sehen wir den Film The Lobster?
Du siehst den Film, ich schlafe.
All right.
All right,
You see
okay.
a film.
All right, maybe you guys, listeners out there, can enjoy The Lobster, but it's not my movie. Anyways, enough for today. All the best with verb conjugations, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers.